Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this yesterday actually was not just Hanuman Jayanti, but many other festivals were celebrated at the same time. BalaramRasyatra is one, so we'll start with that, and the others are we follow on from that. So BalaramRasyatra, as you can imagine, is all about Lord Balaram. Baladev became very anxious to see his mother and father. Now, which mother and father are we talking about? Oh, by the way, I'd like to welcome everybody and seek your wishes, good wishes and your blessings so that we can discuss these wonderful pastimes. Anybody know which mother and father which we're talking about here?
Rohini?
Rohini is definitely the mother, but not in this case.
Vasudeva and Devaki?
Yeah. No.
No, wrong.
He wasn't anxious to see them because he saw them every day.
He was living with them.
In Dwarka. In Dwarka. Who was in Vrindavan? That's a trick question. Sorry?
Yashoda. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yashoda and Nanda.
Yes, Karuna.
Absolutely. Of course, they're like foster father and mother because Vasudeva and Devaki were in prison at the time that they took birth, Krishna and Balaram. But Balaram was looked after by Rohini. Rohini was his natural mother in one sense. Of course, he has no mother or father. He is a Supreme Lord. But he grew up in the house of Nanda and Yashoda. So Balaram regarded Nanda and Yashoda as his mother and father. Were very closely attached, and he was missing them, as was Krishna. They were both missing them. And they would often talk about their pastimes in Vrindavan, and Balaram decided he's actually going to go, and Krishna, which for reasons that we'll discuss another time, decided no, he wasn't going to go. His heart would have broken into many, many pieces if he'd gone, because he would have had to leave and he wouldn't have been able to. Anyway, Balaram set off from Dwarka to mitigate the separation of the residents of Vrindavan. They were missing him and they were missing Krishna. So he decided to go because they were very anxious to see both Krishna and Balaram. When Balaram reached Vrindavan, he met with the Sakhas. Sakhas had grown up because he'd left when he was 11, about 11. And he hadn't seen them for maybe 100 years plus. So it's a long wait. They'd grown up. Some of them came and embraced him. Some of them folded their hands. It just depended on their relationship with Balaram, which they'd never forgotten, of course. And he's offered his obeisances to Nanda and Yashoda, who affectionately embraced him. And they also addressed him as Jagadishwar, Lord of the universe. So he's indirectly saying to him that you're the Lord of the universe. Why have you kept us waiting for such a long time to see you? And of course, Nanda and Yashoda, they were always drowning in the rivers of tears of separation from Krishna. So their natural inclination was they asked about Balaram and they asked about Krishna. Then the gopis arrived, the gopis who was particularly close to Krishna. And they were really in great separation from Krishna. So after greeting Balaram, they started, of course, talking about Krishna. And they wouldn't stop. They asked Balaram all sorts of questions. Balaram could understand that these gopis are in complete ecstatic mood of separation from Krishna. And the gopis, they would accuse Krishna of so many things. Balaram, of course, completely understood their mood, even though they were, if you like, accusing the Lord of abandoning them and not coming back to see them, forsaking them, breaking his promise, so many things. Because Krishna was guilty of all those things and many more. So, but Balaram understood their static feelings and he pacified them with Krishna's leelas. This is the thing about the Brijavasis. Often they would say to each other, let's forget about that debauchee. He doesn't care about us. He's enjoying with his ladies. Let's forget about him. And they try to forget about him, but they just cannot forget about him. Our situation is a little different. We try to remember Krishna, but we just can't remember him. But the Brijavasis, they try to forget him, but they can't forget him. So we somehow, if we can come to that place where we can never forget Krishna, that's a really good place to be. In order to keep the gopis in Vrindavan satisfied, Lord Balaram stayed there continuously for 2 months, namely the months of Chaitra and Vaishakh. For those 2 months, he kept himself amongst the gopis, and he passed every night with them in the forest of Vrindavan in order to satisfy their desire for conjugal love. Thus, Balaram also enjoyed the Ras dance with the gopis during these 2 months. But they weren't the same gopis as Lord Krishna's. Lord Balaram had his own set of gopi friends, gopi devotees. And they would dance for every single night. There were 2 sets of gopis, Krishna's gopis and Balaram's gopis. It's not that Balaram enjoyed the Ras dance with Krishna's gopis. That would have been Ras Abhas, different mood. Krishna's mood is completely different from Balaram's mood. So the gopis who would be like Radha and Lalita, Vishakha, who would be with Krishna, they couldn't dance with Balaram. Different mood. So for them, and that would be a disturbance in the ras, in the mood. There are his gopis who are attached to him in Madhurya Ras, and so he had his Ras Lila with them. And he pacified the other gopis, so Radha and her friends, those who were attached to Krishna, by speaking about Krishna. So he would discuss about Krishna to them. And he would satisfy, he would pacify them because they loved hearing about Krishna. Experiencing great joy, one time he drank a nectarian honey drink named Varuni, became transcendently intoxicated. So Varuni is an intoxicant, but Balaram is a supreme personality of Godhead. So he doesn't become ordinarily intoxicated. He becomes transcendentally intoxicated. And he wanted to bathe with his consorts in the Yamuna. So he called upon her, but she didn't come. She was thinking, you're not in a fit state. I'm not going to come. So out of anger, he dragged her with his plow to the place he was performing pastimes. And then she realized she'd made a terrible blunder because this is none other than the Supreme Lord. So she begged for forgiveness and she came there immediately. This is Balaram looking quite fierce towards the Yamuna. But of course, he always forgives. So this is Yamuna Devi praying to Balaram, who very easily forgave him. So that's the pastime of BalaramRasyatra. Anybody, any questions or any comments? So that takes place, it started yesterday. It's a pastime that takes place for 2 months.
Started yesterday.
Yeah, starting yesterday. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. KrsnaVasantRas started again yesterday. The Purnima, hang on, is it Chaitra Purnima? Yesterday.
Yeah. Yesterday was Chaitra Purnima.
Okay.
The month of Chaitra.
Okay. So the Purnima, or the full moon of Damodar month, is the second full moon of the autumn season, and the Ras Leela is celebrated. So I think there's 2 Ras Leelas.
Yeah, this is the Vasant one,
This is
the
the
spring
second
one.
Yeah, the spring
This
one.
is the spring one.
So on this day, on Chaitra Purnima, there was a second Ras Leela which takes place. On this day, then that's with Krishna and his gopis, in the time when Krishna was in Vrindavan. On this day, full worship of Radha and Krishna is done with many flowers, and they are placed in a Ras Mandap, surrounded by gopis. So in Vrindavan yesterday, I don't know if they would have done it at all because of the current crazy situation there. But normally they would beautifully decorate Radha and Krishna and in different ways with many, many flowers. Shri Krishna Vasant is similar, except that it is in the spring, Vasant. At this time, everybody dresses in yellow.
The other one, everyone dresses in white.
Oh yeah, good. On this full moon night, the devotees usually leave out pots of sweet rice pasayan for the Lord to enjoy during his Ras, similar to the other one. So this is the wonderful painting devotees have done about the Ras Leela, and Krishna expands himself with every single gopi. So this is on the full moon, like yesterday. So that's it on that one. So that Ras Leela took place yesterday. And then the third festival that took place yesterday is Sri Vamsivadananda. Vamsivadananda, Thakur. So Vamsivadananda appeared in Navadvip in 1466 in the house of Syamananda. Anybody got a clue who he is? We talked about him about a year ago. Yes, Rianj? No. Okay, I'll give you a hint.
Flute.
Vamsi. What does that mean?
Flute.
Yeah. So what do you think he might be?
Krishna.
Krishna's
flute.
Flute.
Yeah.
Flute.
Got it. Madhusudan, well done. Vamsivadananda is the incarnation of Krishna's flute. He was engaged in the service of Vishnu Priya. And one particular pastime that took place. One time, Vishnu Priya and Vamsi Thakur decided to give up taking food and water. There wasn't any point in maintaining their bodies because there was so much pain of separation from Chaitanya, Gauranga. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't approve of this, and he manifested himself. So this was when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was either left the planet or he was in Jagannath Puri, having taken sannyas. So then Gauranga appeared before them and he said, no, this is not good. He requested them not to behave so rashly, and then instructed them to both worship his deity form in order to mitigate their feelings of separation. So sometimes this happens. And if this happens where one feels so much separation that one can't live without the Lord, that really is a very successful execution of one's bhakti. But it shouldn't lead to a situation where one wants to give up one's life. Then one is wasting one's life, because Sanatana Goswami said similar thing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My body is wrecked with so many illnesses. I rather drown myself in the Ganga. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this body, you've given it to me, it doesn't belong to you anymore. So you can't take your life like that. Instead, I want you to go to Vrindavan and write books for the future generations and discover places of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. And that's exactly what Sanatana Goswami did. He really utilized his life in a very positive Krishna conscious manner. So we must also do the same. Sometimes we may feel we are not very useful, or have a mood of a negative mood, can't do anything right, or somehow disheartened. But actually, in spiritual terms, there's no such thing as being disheartened. Even in the material world, there's no such thing as that. But especially in the spiritual world, spiritual field, we just do our best, whatever we are able to do, sharing Krishna consciousness, trying to imbibe it within ourselves, worshipping the Lord, chanting the holy name. Do our best. It might not be very particularly good. It might not be a great saver from our point of view. We're thinking like that, but it doesn't mean we stop. We carry on. In fact, the more we think of ourselves that actually we're totally useless. In one sense, it's not defeatist. It's actually quite true. What can we possibly do for the Supreme Lord? But he becomes happy with that mood that what can I do? But I'll do something for you. Let me try. That's a very nice mood to have. We shouldn't have a completely defeatist view that it stops us from doing any seva at all. VamsivadanThakur had two sons, Chaitanya Das and Nityananda Das. The two sons of Chaitanya Das were Ramachandra and Satchidananda. And Ramachandra was the adopted son and disciple of Janava Mata. So it's a very nice link there between Nityananda's Dharmapatni and Vamsi. VamsivadanThakur was a poet and a composer of songs. Well, he's an incarnation of the flute. So he composed one song about Lord's acceptance of sannyas based on the lamentation of Sachimata and Vishnupriya. Some say that Ramachandra Goswami, the son of Chaitanya Das, VamsivadanThakur's son, so this is Chaitanya, was an incarnation of VamsivadanThakur. Okay, so that's where I want to stop there. And any questions, any comments? Anybody like to add anything that they've heard about these wonderful past personalities? Otherwise, we look at the final personality. Oops, where are you? And he is Syamananda. He is the most exciting personality. Just came after the time of Lord Chaitanya. And let me just share the screen. Okay, so this is part of it. So we can chant this verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Punarapi nila chale gamana karela, bhakta gane meliya snanayata dekila. After collecting these books, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri. At that time, the bathing ceremony of Jagannath was taking place and he saw it.
Can't remember what the relevant song was anyway. Syamananda Prabhu, he was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, contemporary of great acharyas, SriniVasacharya and Narottam Dasa. This is the trio, the dynamic trio. They took all the books that were written. That's the connection. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to read a lot of books, and he used to instruct the six Goswami, especially Sanatana and Rupa, about writing these books. So these books were written, and Srinivas, Narottam, and Syamananda's job, after most of the Goswamis had left, Mahaprabhu had left, their job was to take these books from Vrindavan to Bengal. So that was the connection. And they did that under the instructions of Jiva Goswami. The three were eternal associates of Chaitanya, incarnated to spread his teachings after the Lord's disappearance. They studied under Jiva Goswami in Vrindavan. They created a resurgence of Chaitanya's bhakti movement in Bengal and Orissa, where it was flagging in the period after the Lord had left the planet. So who is this Syamananda? He appeared in West Bengal in 1534 in the house of Sri Krishna Mandal and Srimati Durika Devi. And he was named Dukhi, as his parents had lost many sons and daughters before him, and they wanted to ward off all inauspiciousness by giving their son such a name. So they called the son Dukhi, trouble, or pain. It was predicted that he would become his great soul and would come to preach the glories of Lord Jagannath. Being highly intelligent, Dukhi soon mastered all the scriptures and the science of grammar. But when he heard the transcendental pastimes of Gaunitai from the Vaishnavas in his village, he developed a strong attachment to their lotus feet. Taking his father's blessings, Dukhi Krishnadas went to Ambika Kalna, where he took shelter of his guru, Hriday Chaitanya, who was a disciple of Gauri Das Pandit. So Gauri Das Pandit was a direct associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After being initiated, so his name became not just Dukhi, but Dukhi Krishnadas. Seeing his great intelligence and devotion, he was instructed to go to Vrindavan Dham to study under Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami was the topmost scholar at that time. And Hriday Chaitanya could see that Syamananda or Dukhi Krishna was very philosophically minded. So he told him, go to Vrindavan, learn under Jiva Goswami. So Syamananda set out for Vrindavan. He first visited Mayapur and he saw Ishan, the servant of Jagannath Mishra, in the house of Jagannath Mishra. That's the father of Chaitanya. He went to Gaya, had darshan of the Vishnupad temple, went to Kashi, had the darshan, blessings of Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra. And then finally he reached Vrindavan and he came under the care of Jiva Goswami. There he met the other two, his colleagues, SriniVasacharya and Narottam Das Thakur. They struck up a friendship immediately. And together they performed bhakti in each other's association under the tutelage of Jiva Goswami. And he got a service of sweeping Seva Kunj. Seva Kunj is a very special area in Vrindavan where Radha and Krishna still to this day perform the Ras Leela every evening, every night. So he got the opportunity, the service of sweeping. And sweeping is a very ordinarily a low-class activity, but of course, when you're sweeping the Lord's temple or Lord's pastime area, it's the highest possible activity. So Jiva Goswami gave him that service. Dukhi Krishna would every day sweep the groves of Seva Kunj. And every day, for many years, 7 years, it said, 7 years he did that service, where the divine couple come and perform pastimes every night, even to this present day. So this is very nice. Krishna likes consistent service. Even if it's service which may seem very menial, he likes devotees who serve consistently. They don't abandon their service. They may take on more service, but they don't abandon service. So this is a fantastic example, Syamananda, of somebody who consistently did his seva, sweeping every day Seva Kunj for 7 years. One day he came upon a very special and transcendental ankle bell. the beauty of which astonished him. And he safely kept it with him, hoping to have audience with the owner of the divine ornament. So Syamananda was Dukhi Krishna was very intelligent. He knew this is no ordinary anklet. So soon a young maiden, was actually Vishaka Devi, one of the gopis, whose beauty was beyond the material creation, came to him and asked if he had found an ankle bell while sweeping. So this is a little example. There's a monkey there. Sevakunj, there are lots and lots of monkeys roaming around in that enclosed area. Another monkey there. So he found this beautiful anklet, kept it hidden. Dukhi Krishna replied that he had indeed found a very special ankle bell. But when Vishaka asked for it, saying that it belonged to her dear Sakhi, Dukhi Krishna said, no, I'd rather give it to her in person. I want to give it to the owner herself. So Vishaka became very pleased with the mood of Dukhi Krishna. Hearing this, Gopi went back. The ankle bell actually belonged to Srimati Radharani. And being pleased with him, she personally came and gave him darshan of her lotus feet. She placed the ankle bell on his forehead, the touch of which marked his forehead with a special tilak marking, gave him the name Syamananda. So Syaman, Anand means happy, Shyam means Krishna. So this was an incredible blessing. And this tilak is a unique tilak, which to this day, the devotees who follow in the line of Syamananda, they wear this tilak, very unique. So there you go. Radharani touches the ankle bell and he gets this beautiful tilak and she's so pleased with him. His humble mood, consistent service, and great intellect. Just because he had such intellect, he didn't feel that it was below him to do the sweeping. So this is an example of the tilak. It's a little different from how we wear it. Being thus blessed, Dukhi Krishna or Syamananda was overjoyed. But when he went back, all the Vaishnavas started questioning him as to why he had changed his tilak. And he wouldn't tell anybody because it was such a secret, such an amazing pastime. And if he told anybody, nobody believed him. When asked by Jiva Goswami, Dukhi Krishna related the whole story to him, which gave immense pleasure to the heart of Jiva Goswami. So this is a very unique relationship between the Shiksha Guru and the disciple. Just because there was a lot of trust between Dukhi Krishna and Jiva Goswami. So Jiva Goswami immediately accepted this pastime. And no matter how hard he would try to wash off that tilak, he could never wash it off. He didn't try to wash it off anyway, but when you have a shower, tilak off, will wash off, but this wouldn't. Now, it was a little bit of a controversy there because this message, this news got to Chaitanya, Harida Chaitanya. Your disciple is now wearing a different, Dukhi Krishna is wearing a different type of tilak because there was a set standard of tilak according to the Gaudiya Vaishnava. It's worn like this, it's true up in like a little tulsi leaf at the bottom. So he's changed his style of tilak. So he's adopting some new philosophy, perhaps. And also, he's got another name. Now, Hridaya Chaitanya became very upset. Immediately, he was thinking, this is the arrogance of my disciple and the arrogance of Jiva Goswami. He immediately came to Vrindavan and he was greatly displeased to see the different tilak. He severely chastise Syamananda. But Syamananda, he didn't argue with his guru. He didn't say anything. He just was standing there with folded hands, accepting the chastisement. Another great example, instruction, that when this guru chastises, whether he's right or wrong, it doesn't matter, he's right. It's between him and the Lord, between the guru and the Lord, to decide the way forward. But the disciple accepts whatever chastisement is coming as the mercy of the Lord. Anyway, in a dream, Radharani revealed to Hridaya Chaitanya the whole episode. So you can see the position of Hridaya Chaitanya is exalted as well. Radharani came to him in a dream, explaining her mercy upon Syamananda. So of course, Hridaya Chaitanya hugged his disciple and apologized for the error. Soon thereafter, on the order of Jiva Goswami, Syamananda, and along with Narottam and Srinivas, set off to Bengal and Orissa with a trunk full of Goswami's literatures to preach the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in the way, the king of Vana Vishnupur, the Bir Hambir, had the scriptures stolen by some of his men. For the purpose of recovering the stolen scriptures, Srinivas Acharya stayed behind. Syamananda returned to Ambika Kalna. That's where he was born. And then later on, the books were recovered by Srinivas, and actually the king realized that he'd got this great treasure of books. He was very sorry, but he then took in shelter of Srinivas. Srinivas became his guru, and everything ended very, very well. Hridaya Chaitanya accepted the service of his disciple for some time, and then ordered Syamananda to go to Orissa and revive the Sankirtan movement again. While preaching, he initiated the boy Rasik, who became a great devotee of the Lord, well known as Rasikananda. So we've talked about Rasikananda for a couple of times, and inspired many people of all classes to take up path of Krishna Bhakti. Syamananda thereafter traveled widely, spreading the holy names of the Lord, and also attending the grand festival at Keturi, where he again met Srinivas and Narottam. So Keturi, this was the first Gaur Purnima celebration, which was organized by Narottam Das Thakur. He initiated many disciples who continued his preaching. Some call it the Syamanandi sect, after his disappearance in Kanapur, Orissa, where his samadhi is located. So that's the pastime of Syamananda. Anybody like to say anything that we've missed out, any experiences that you'd like to share about these glorious devotees? You're welcome to do so.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Sitaram.
Yes, as you were talking about those monkeys, so those monkeys who was on the trees, I don't know if I've read somewhere or somebody told me that these monkeys, they were devotees. They were devotees, and they have not completed their devotional life. So
That's nice.
And second thing, I'm getting laugh. I was in Vrindavan and was just doing parikrama with my brother Sikh Matriya, who was with me. One monkey came and took back my spectacle and moved upward. What to be done? And now one Brajvasi came to me. Don't be frightened, my friend. Just send a piece of banana, whatever it is, and he will the monkeys will release your spectacle.
Lots.
I did it, and the monkey just released my spectacle. This is my own experience of in the Vrindavan.
Yeah, very good. Nice experiences. Yeah, it's a fact. Nobody in Vrindavan who lives in Vrindavan is there by chance.
Yeah.
Including the pigs, the monkeys. Everybody is there because they've just come to the end of their
Trees, Prabhu, whatever living entity over there, they are from spiritual or whatever.
Or they're going there for sure.
And we are so far, as you used to go to Vrindavan, it is our great fortune to be in Vrindavan. Okay.
For sure.
Thank you for disturb you.
No, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these some of these monkeys actually are trained by some of the shopkeepers to steal
Special money.
Yeah, trained.
It is said that even the pigs, there were great rishi munis in the past births. Yeah, in Vrindavan.
Yeah, maybe some mistake they may have made, and just clear up those mistakes. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. And I think BhaktiVinoda has got a song, which I think KrsnaVasantRas sang one time. The animals are so special in Vrindavan. Can't remember exactly.
Vrindavan is a replica of the spiritual world.
Yeah. And they say you should not commit any offense in Vrindavan.
And avoid. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it said you should only stay there for 3 days and nights, and then leave, because you become familiar then with the people, the Bijbasis. And if you make an offense, then it's very hard to counteract. Very true.
Okay, Haribol Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay, very good. Thank you for sharing. Let's go to the Nrsimha Kavach.